So, what are some of the biggest mistakes you've seen leaders make when leading people in different generations?
So I always say there's four approaches to bridging the generational differences. And I'm going to go through each of them. And I'm going to also share what I feel to be the most effective. Number one, or I should say, approach number one, I just kind of gave it away. But approach number one is ignore this. If we just not look at it, we'll just eventually just get everybody on the same page, get everybody rowing in the same direction, right? And of course, this goes back to my clinical days. And even now as a coach, what happens when we avoid things? They get bigger, right? So I don't know if that's necessarily a good long-term strategy. It might feel good in the moment. It might feel like a good short-term strategy, but being that millennials make up the majority, a big portion of our workforce, and this upcoming generation, the silent generation, they're calling it, the Gen Zers, I think that, and when I say silent generation, I'm talking in terms of this was an interesting thing that I read recently, that majority of Gen Zers struggle with some kind of anxiety or depression. So we need to invest in leadership training. We need to invest in the soft skills that are needed to engage and to motivate and to empower. Because I think if we keep trying to lead the same way, the playbook that worked 15 years ago is not working now. We're going to have, and I think that's one of the signs of a great leader is someone that's agile, open, always investing in their leadership journey, right? Because the playbook is changing, you know. The second one is to fix them, right? Which almost indicates that they're broken, which they're not, right? So, so it's really trying to get them to see the way you see things, trying to get them to follow suit, right? Again, might be a good short-term strategy, but when it comes to creating loyal, engaging workforces, that might be a turnoff for many people. Nobody wants to be made like they're not that they're broken, right? Or that their perspective isn't correct. Then the third one is cutting a deal with them, right? If you do this for me, then I'll let you do this. Now, that might be a good short-term strategy, especially if you've got a small team. But the problem is that could snowball very quickly because you have to remember the deals that you've given. If you don't offer people the same deals, you create a culture of unfairness, which remember, one of the core needs that we have is fairness. And so that can really become a slippery slope for teams and for organizations. It could create a lot of animosity. And that could also be a big reason why people leave. Well, you gave this person this, but why didn't you give this to me, right? And people, people talk. Word will get around. And then the fourth one is to lead them, right? Leaders love their people. If we love people, we don't try to change them. If we lead them, we might quit trying to change them. And if we can't, if we appreciate them, we'll learn to understand them, right? Leadership starts with understanding, right? Which is the word I've mentioned a few times now, but it really is so, so important. Once we understand others, we realize that, we have been born, they were born at a time and their experiences really shaped who they are. And then we also start to realize that there's commonalities too, right? We've talked a lot about differences today, but if you lean in and you start to understand your people, you start to realize that we're all very much driven by very similar values. And you start to realize we do think a lot alike in a lot of ways, right? And so I think leading them is really the best approach, which requires investment, which requires training, right? Because if you don't know what you don't know, and we've never been here before, we have 5 generations working side by side. We've never been here, and as I mentioned, there's really no playbook for this. We're building it as we speak. And so it creates a wonderful opportunity for leaders to invest in their own development. And I do want to preface by saying that through disruption comes opportunity. If this might feel disruptive, right? The playbook might not be working as well, but that's where the growth happens, right? So I can tell you that I've seen companies take those sticking points and turn them into a huge asset. Because when you start to understand each other, that's where connections get deeper. That's when people engage more. That's when people work better with each other. And that's what creates fierce, powerful teams.
Wow, very, very well said. I love the four approaches to kind of handling the multi-generational environment that we're in today and your thoughts on those.